When all was said and done, Prescott threw for 271 yards on 24 of 39 passing. He had 2 touchdowns and no interceptions, with his only miscue coming when he fumbled the ball while being sacked. That one was taken back for a touchdown by Jalen Carter. The Eagles were still never truly back in the game. Dallas has a tough stretch with just one more game at home in their final 4 outings. They also have to take on the Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins, and the Detroit Lions over the next 3 weeks. It's a gauntlet, but with the way Prescott is playing, they have to believe they can handle it.
Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Life's too short for boring weekends. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time is the go-to app for last-minute tickets to all your favorite events. From thrilling sporting games and captivating concerts to unforgettable theater performances. They've got it all covered. Get the best seats at the best price right at your fingertips instantly. No more waiting in lines. No more exorbitant ticket prices. So why wait? Experience the magic of the moment with Game Time. Live for the now. Game Time, your ticket to a fantastic time. Use the link in the description and you can help support the channel when you buy your tickets to your next event.
Before we dive into today's episode, we'd like to remind you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. Just search the Big D Breakdown. Of course, thank you so much for watching and listening. And now on to our first topic, 5 studs and 1 dud from revenge win against the Eagles in Week 14. We survived a scare before kickoff as the Dallas Cowboys were the overwhelming favorites from the Football Night in America team. Just about any Dallas fan understands how quickly things can go wrong once others start to believe. But that wasn't the case this time. The Cowboys were out for revenge as on the Philadelphia Eagles, who held on for a 28-23 win in their first meeting of the year. Dallas nearly came back in that one, but late penalties wound up being their downfall. This time they made sure it didn't come down to the wire. Dallas jumped to a 7-0 lead on the opening drive and went into the half up 24-6. They won this one going away as the defense forced 3 turnovers. Add it all up, the Cowboys won 33-13 to improve to 10-3 on the season and 8-0 at home. So let's take a look back at who stood out as our studs and duds from the revenge win. Starting off, Donovan Wilson, stud. Donovan Wilson has taken his share of criticism this season, and it's hard to argue that he hasn't had his share of struggles. You wouldn't know that from the way he came out on Sunday Night Football, making 2 big plays on the opening defensive series of the night. Dallas was up 7-0, and the Eagles were trying to match the opening drive touchdown. They were on the move until Wilson hit Jalen Hurts at the 20-yard line and forced the ball out. The fumble was recovered by Wilson as well, stopping the Eagles after they had gone 54 yards. That was the second play he made that stood out, the first being when he broke up a deep pass to Devontae Smith. It originally looked as though Smith had a huge gain, but Wilson came in on along with Damon Clark to force an incompletion. Wilson finished with 5 tackles and was a major part of setting the tone early. Number 2, our stud, Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard has put together a solid season, but he hasn't been the explosive player we are used to seeing. Still, he's been a trusted weapon on offense and was making yards early and often in this one. On the opening drive alone, he had 3 receptions for 17 yards. While the long was just 8 yards, he was providing his quarterback a safe check down option as they moved down the field for a touchdown. On their next drive, he again stepped up with his biggest play coming on a 4th and 2. This time, he took a handoff from Prescott and ran it up the middle. He followed that up with an 18-yard gain as well. But that one was called back due to a hold from Terrence Steele. They wound up with 3 points thanks to a 60-yard field goal from Brandon Aubrey, which wouldn't have happened without Pollard's clutch run. Pollard ended the game with 59 yards on the ground while adding 37 yards on 7 receptions. He split more time with Rico Dowdle this week with a 4th-year back gaining 46 yards on the ground and 6 as a receiver. Next up, our stud, Brandon Aubrey. Brandon Aubrey is the special weapon that no one saw coming. Dallas signed him in the offseason after a short stint in the USFL. At the time, Many wondered what they were doing by signing a former soccer player who converted to kicker without bringing in competition. Now, no one's wondering. Aubrey has been a major weapon for the Cowboys and broke the record for the most made field goals in a row to start a career. Entering Week 14 with 26 made kicks, he came out and made even more history with his first 2 attempts against the Eagles. In the first half, he nailed one from 60 yards out to make it 10-0. His next kick was in the third quarter after a penalty-filled drive ended a 59-yard attempt. That one was perfectly down the middle, as was the 60-yarder, making it 27-13. What made this historic was the fact that he's now the first kicker in NFL history to make 2 kicks from 59 yards out in the same game. He's now 8 of 8 from 50 and 30 and 30 after making all 4 of his kicks. His final ones on Sunday were from 45 and 50 yards, which felt like cheap shots after his first 2. Our next stud, Stephon Gilmore. This weekend, Gilmore had a tough assignment. The 13-year veteran spent much of the night covering A.J. Brown, who can be a game changer. Gilmore held his own throughout the night and even had a turnover early in the third quarter to kill the Eagles' momentum. After receiving the second half kickoff, Philadelphia moved into Dallas territory when Brown hauled in a 7-yard pass. Gilmore was able to strip the ball out of his hands, and Damone Clark picked up the fumble. Dallas nearly capitalized on the turnover when Prescott dropped the ball into CeeDee Lamb's hands deep downfield, but the normally sure-handed wideout dropped the pass. Even though they had to punt, which was their first time doing so since Thanksgiving, the play from Gilmore gave them the momentum back, and they forced a quick 3-and-out on the next series. Near the end of the third quarter, the veteran again stepped up for the defense. After Aubrey kicked a 59-yarder to make it a 27-13 game, Gilmore stopped Brown for just 2 yards on 3rd and 11. Then, with the Eagles getting aggressive on 4th down, he made a sure tackle on Devontae Smith to give his team the ball back once again. Gilmore had 9 tackles on the night and was constantly making key stops, proving to be a steal, considering it took a mere 5th-round pick to land him. And of course, our dud, Jalen Tolbert. Tolbert was the gunner on 4th and 2 from the Philly 33. He was too far off his man, which allowed the Eagles punter, Braden Mann, to throw to a wide-open Olamide Zaccheaus, who gained 28 yards and gave them a fresh set of downs. In Tolbert's defense, he's a wideout and doesn't play in coverage. But that would be more excusable if he were to be beaten by Zaccheaus for a reception. That wasn't the case, since he wasn't even in the vicinity to attempt to cover, making it far too easy of a decision from Mann to fire the pass. The Dallas defense was able to hold after that, as the Eagles had to kick a 52-yard field goal. Even with that being the case, the Cowboys were about to get the ball with a 10-0 lead, but instead saw the score cut to a single touchdown after the gaffe. Tolbert, the 3rd pick from South Alabama, was almost non-existent as a rookie in 2022. He came into this season looking to make a larger impact, but due to a stacked receiving core, he finds himself at number 4 and has been a regular on special teams. He's been vastly improved based upon what we saw from last year, but this was a play he needs to learn from. And next, our final stud, Dak Prescott. At this point, Dak Prescott should make sure there's room for his MVP trophy. He's playing at an elite level throughout the season, but once again, the sticks continued to move for him. Despite his performance, the claim was that he couldn't beat the Eagles, even though he has. He put that to rest with another dominant win. Prescott moved the offense right down the field on a 10-play, 75-yard drive. Capped that one off with a 13-yarder to CeeDee Lamb, giving his team an early 7-0 lead. The second touchdown included an absolute dart to Jake Ferguson for 7 yards and ended with a Rico touchdown run. He then ended the first half with yet another 75-yard drive. This time, he did so with just under 2 minutes to go. He had several solid plays and finished with a 1-yard touchdown pass to Michael Gallup, putting his team up 24-6 at the half. When all was said and done, Prescott threw for 271 yards on 24 of 39 passing. He had 2 touchdowns and no interceptions, with his only miscue coming when he fumbled the ball while being sacked. That one was taken back for a touchdown by Jalen Carter. The Eagles were still never truly back in the game. Dallas has a tough stretch with just one more game at home in their final 4 outings. They also have to take on the Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins, and the Detroit Lions over the next 3 weeks. It's a gauntlet, but with the way Prescott is playing, they have to believe they can handle it. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Was there somebody we missed that you would consider a stud or a dud from the game? Let us know. And now on to our next topic. The Cowboys have officially broken the Eagles as Philly legend destroyed the team. The Dallas Cowboys put a beatdown on the Philadelphia Eagles with the entire nation watching on Sunday night. With the win, the Cowboys moved back into first place in the NFC East and sent the previously invincible Eagles to their second straight loss. On second thought, were the Eagles ever invincible? While they started the season 10-1, they snatched victory from the jaws of defeat in multiple games that they were outplayed. Their overtime win against the Commanders springs to mind, and they were lucky to beat the Cowboys in their first meeting. Additionally, they beat the Bills and Chiefs by a combined 7 points and were 1 play away from losing both games. Against the Chiefs, Marquez Valdez-Scantling dropped a potential game-winning touchdown late in the fourth quarter. Against the Bills, Josh Allen and Gabe Davis had a costly miscommunication in overtime on what should have been a walk-off touchdown. The Eagles undoubtedly deserve credit for winning ugly, but their luck is finally regressing to the mean. Even Cowboy fans would agree Philly is still a really good team, but last night's loss was so demoralizing that it prompted Eagles legend Seth Joyner to call the team frauds on Jacob Sports' post-game show. Did the Cowboys break the Eagles? That remains to be seen. They undoubtedly shattered Joyner's spirit, and that alone speaks volumes. Joyner's words held merit in Philadelphia. He was a 2-time second-team All-Pro and 3-time Pro Bowler with the Eagles and finished second in Defensive Player of the Year, as well as 5th in MVP voting in 1991 over his 8 years with the franchise. While most fans would agree that the Eagles are still a good team, 2 straight blowout losses against teams they're expected to compete with to get to the Super Bowl was enough for Joyner to call Philadelphia fool's gold. You be the judge. They're an impossible 7-1 in one-score games this season. They could have another 3 or 4 losses. It's reminiscent of last year's Vikings team that won 11 one-score contests on their way to a 13-4 record and clinching the number 3 seed in the NFC. Minnesota couldn't shred the fraud label despite its record. Sure enough, they lost to the overachieving Giants at home in the first round of the playoffs. The Eagles deserve the benefit of the doubt more than the Vikings did. They've beaten some of the NFL's best teams this season and nearly won the Super Bowl last year. It's not an apples-to-apples comparison, but the similarities are undeniable. They might go on to win the NFC East, but Sunday night proved what Cowboy fans thought along, and Joyner hammered it home. The Eagles might be frauds. They've lived on the edge all season, and their luck seems to be running out, with the playoffs just over a month away. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And of course, give us a thumbs up if you like our video. Hit that subscribe button, bell notification button to be notified of our future videos. And now on to our next topic. 3 struggling Cowboy players who came up clutch in the win against the Eagles. The Dallas Cowboys are back where they belong, atop the NFC East after their dominant 33-13 victory over the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday night. Prescott, Stephon Gilmore, Micah Parsons, and Brandon Aubrey, who made more NFL history by making field goals of the 60 and 50-yard variety and extending his consecutive made field goal streak to 30 to start his career, were catalysts in the win. Mike McCarthy deserves his own flowers for calling an excellent game and having his team ready to dominate, despite being days removed from surgery to address acute appendicitis after he experienced abdominal pain on Wednesday. Prescott, Gilmore, McCarthy, Parsons, and Aubrey snatched the Monday morning headlines. We're going to show some love for some previously struggling Cowboy players who stepped up and helped Dallas dethrone their rivals. So starting off with Michael Gallup. Gallup's struggles this season are well documented. Other than Jordan Lewis, Gallup has arguably been the most criticized Cowboy in 2023. Early in the year, Prescott had a low success rate when targeting Gallup, who at the time drew more looks than Jake Ferguson Brandon Cooks, and Cavante Turpin. Gallup has since been phased out of the offense. He's been outsnapped by second-year receiver Jalen Tolbert, and his target share has plummeted. While Gallup wasn't a focal point on Sunday, he came up with some clutch grabs, including a touchdown right before halftime that put Dallas up 24-6. Beyond the touchdown, Gallup made a big catch on third down in the third quarter and drew a pass interference on Darius Slay on a 3rd and 17. He also made a beautiful 39-yard catch in the fourth quarter on a pass that had a 17.4% completion probability. It was arguably a more impressive throw from Prescott, but Gallup made a great over-the-shoulder snag and had the awareness to drag both feet in bounds. We witnessed vintage Gallup on Sunday. His target share should remain minimal, but this win proved he can make an impact in a limited role. Number 2, Donovan Wilson. The entire Cowboys safety trio came up with big plays, but none were bigger than Donovan Wilson's forced fumble of Jalen Hurts in the first quarter. The Cowboys had just marched 75 yards for a touchdown on the game's opening drive, and the Eagles' offense was driving. It took Philly just 7 plays to get in the red zone when Wilson punched the ball loose on a Hurts scramble. You could never predict a drive's outcome, but it really felt like the Eagles were destined to finish that drive with a touchdown. Regardless, the turnover turned out to be huge. There's no telling how this game turns out if Philadelphia ties the game there at 7-7. Instead, Dallas regained momentum, kicked a field goal on the ensuing possession to go up 10-0. The fumble injected confidence into the defense, and it showed throughout the game. Wilson has taken his fair share of criticism this season, but he made arguably the play of the game Sunday night and deserves all the praise. And number 1, DaRon Bland. You can argue no Cowboy player's era was trending more down than Bland coming into Sunday's game. On Thanksgiving, Bland allowed 8 catches on 11 targets for 110 yards. He salvaged that performance with a pick six that broke the NFL record for most pick sixes in a season. But he followed that with the worst game of his career and maybe the worst game played by a cornerback in the NFL all season, when he allowed 8 catches on 12 targets for 169 yards and a TD versus the Seahawks. After 2 stinkers, Bland was back to his best against the Eagles. He allowed just 8 yards on 4 targets and a 56.3 passer rating per PFF. He also allowed just 1.8 yards of separation and was a force against the run, finishing 3rd on the team with 5 tackles, including 2 tackles for loss. Bland deserves major credit for bouncing back from Week 13. All told, though, he should have seen this bounce back coming after he made a clutch interception in that game, despite laboring through the worst game of his career. The 24-year-old is back, and that is fantastic news for the Cowboys. And on to our next topic. Dak Prescott has skyrocketed to favorite to win the NFL MVP latest odds. There's a new favorite to win the MVP award, and his name is Dak Prescott. The Cowboys quarterback orchestrated another strong game on Sunday Night Football, throwing a pair of touchdowns to lead Dallas to a win over the Philadelphia Eagles. With the win, the Cowboys jumped to first place in the NFC East, giving Prescott an inside track over Jalen Hurts to win this award. While 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy is still in the mix, plus 200 to win, Prescott is leading the way with plus 160 odds. Dallas has a tough schedule to end the season that could make or break Prescott's MVP case. While the numbers are there for the star quarterback, he's likely going to need to lead the team to an NFC East title to hold off Purdy, who currently leads the number 1 seed in the NFC. Like we mentioned, Dallas takes on the Lions, Dolphins, and Bills over the final 4 weeks of the season, 3 teams with serious playoff hopes. Still, Prescott has been unreal, leading the league in touchdown passes with 28 and throwing just 6 picks on the season. A win over Eagles certainly puts his MVP stock at an all-time high. These odds will only rise if he beats Buffalo in Week 15. From there, Prescott has a chance to really show he's the MVP if he knocks off Tua and Detroit in the following 2 games before ending the season with a cupcake matchup against Washington's porous defense. If you're looking to bet Dak to win MVP, maybe the best odds you get the rest of the season. Let us know your thoughts on the topics we covered in the comment section below. If there's something we missed, let us know. And of course, if you want to support the channel, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/bigd. Your support Helps the channel grow, upgrade our equipment, bring new hosts, be able to pay them, and any financial support you can offer is hugely appreciated. Whether it's $1, $5, $10, 20, 50, 100, however much you want to give. And if you can't give, consider just giving a thumbs up on the video, liking the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button. And as always, thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll